One.
I'll ask you a question. Hey, Henry, how's it going?
Not bad now yourself. How's things?
Yeah, all good. All good. Just in Leeds at the moment in my car. So we're testing out the new recording studio, which is my Vauxhall Corsa.
Oh, that's nice. Maybe KSI and all these guys can take a leaf out of your book.
That's it. I'm reinventing the wheel. I'm changing the game.
Yeah. Well, actually, one thing is that they play a lot of rugby league in Northern England, don't they? Actually, I was only talking about that the other day.
Yeah, yeah. What do you know about it?
Well, they say that rugby union is. I think there was an English guy I used to know, and he said that rugby union is the posher southern sport, and then rugby union is the more manly northern sport. So
That is the consensus.
that's the consensus from the general.
It is. I played both, you see. So at school I played rugby league because that's where we are. We're up north. I'm from Bradford, and Bradford Bulls were very famous in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And then they went bankrupt, but they had a really great side and they won the Super League with some. Brian Noble was the head coach. He became the Great Britain head coach. And they had some really, really good players like Leslie Vinacolo. I think he scored 200 tries in 205 games or something. Then he went over to Gloucester and played rugby union. But I did play rugby union for Bradford Salem Rugby Club as well. And a big shout out to those guys. I think some of those guys will be watching this podcast. So, but no, for me, I prefer union because I think there's a bit more tactics in it. Rugby league, it's a lot of hard running, a lot of running up the middle of the pitch, and then a bit more of a tactics after that. But both very tough sports. Potentially rugby league's a bit tougher. There's a lot of cheap shots in rugby league and stuff. A lot of big men.
Yeah. It's a tough game, rugby league. I've seen some of the games, and it's just basically it's like a bulldog or something. You're just running as fast as you can into someone, and it's not there's no real slowdown. It's a million miles an hour. But yeah, no, that was just something I was only talking about the other day about the rugby league. Because in Ireland, it's not, no one plays rugby league. There's not even teams or anything. So it's not really, doesn't really exist here.
Funny, you had a really good winger called Brian Carney, played for Wigan. Wigan are a top team in rugby league. So there was one player, and I think because he transitioned to rugby union as well. I think he even got a cap for the rugby union team as well.
Yeah.
But a lot of players like Jason Robinson originally started rugby league, and then he went over to rugby union and won the World Cup with England. So yeah, it's good. Big rugby league area. Well, anywhere northern really, Lancashire, Yorkshire, and above. So yeah. But yes, what were we going to talk about today? Well, we touched on Mexico last time, didn't we? So where did you go in Mexico exactly? Because I know we met in Cancun, and that's where we kind of parted ways, wasn't it?
Yeah. So as I said, we were in Cancun. I was there for maybe a week or two or so, and then just went off to Playa del Carmen, and I was there then for a while in Playa del Carmen. And then I went to visit the Casa Mayan, Chichen Itza. That's it. One of the 7 wonders of the world.
Yeah.
That was good. It was nice. It was nice. Had a bit of I was going to say, actually, I had my incident with the Mexican police coming home from that. But I went to another island then off Playa del Carmen. And Playa del Carmen's nice. It's a nice city. And it was good nightlife. The only kind of complaint I would have is that the nightclubs were, because of COVID, it's just, we get back to it. They had COVID restrictions that everything had opened, but it just had to close at 2 instead of 4. And it's like, as if that's going to make that much of a difference. But anyway, yeah, so the clubs were closing all at 2. And I was still well able to stay on until 4 in the morning, but I wasn't able to. They were kicking me home. So had a couple of, well, I'm not going to say early nights, but I was willing to stay for another 2 hours, but they wouldn't let me. 2 hours of gasolina, or what's it? Danza Creduzo.
Well, yeah. Well, that's it. All the music's reggaeton, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually like that music. It's something different, and as I said, it's not like totally different to Western music, because you do get some of it in the West as well. Like if you're, I don't know, maybe if you're in a club, maybe you get 1 in 10 songs is going to be like one of the reggaeton or one of these Latin American songs. But yeah, it's okay. As I said, there was some nice bars down there as well, and yeah, it's just a good place. A lot of American tourists there. There's probably more Americans than any other nationality in Cancun and Playa del Carmen. And
Yeah,
I
lots
never
of
actually,
Americans. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And then
lots
there
of
was
Americans.
there was good island. There was an island. Then I just can't remember the name, but it's just near Playa del Carmen. It only takes,
Hobart.
could be
No.
that. Yeah, it only
Yeah.
takes 30 minutes on a ferry. I went over there and then rented out some mopeds, which was really good. And I don't even have a moped license. I'd never driven one before. And your man was just like, yeah, it's no problem. Just do whatever you want. So it's going around driving. And the main thing I was surprised with the moped was how little petrol it takes. Going on to the fuel crisis, mopeds do not take a lot of petrol. So you will actually be fine um, if you have a moped. It literally, I'm talking now, I drove it for 3 days non-stop, cost me like €5. It was so cheap
Mental. Mental.
and really fun and really nice in the climate they had there as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I don't know. Shall we leave the police stories for another time? It's just a police car's just gone past me,
I
so I
see.
don't
Yeah, yeah.
know.
No, I won't go into that. But
We'll
yeah,
do it
as I
another
said,
time.
just the moped was really good. It was really fun. And as I said, it's one thing in the West in general. If there's another topic to get into, it's over regulation. And over here, like I'm a bit of a cowboy in general. I just I don't mind rules like common sense rules, but I think sometimes too when it gets too much, it's like becomes robotic. But it's funny because it's only enforced for half people and not for the other half. But anyway, but as said in Ireland, if you want a motorbike license, you have to do theory tests. You have to go do 2 days of practical class. It could cost you €1,000. But like it used to be the case that if you got your driver's license, you could get your moped license at the same time, and then they now made it separate.
They've
So it's a
changed it.
disaster. Yeah, yeah. It's just a money racket in many ways. Because to be honest with you, if you're able to drive a car, like I drove a moped for the first time, maybe a heavy motorbike, I can understand you have to do some lessons, but a moped these are easy to drive. Like if you can't drive one of these, um, it's an electric bicycle, really, is all it is.
Do you know who Molly McCann is from UFC?
Think I don't think so. No, I kind
So,
of
have
half
you
rings
met
a
Paddy
bell.
Pimblett?
Oh, the Liverpool woman,
Paddy
is it?
Pimblett. Yeah,
She's from
yeah,
Liverpool, isn't she? Oh, I know her. Yeah.
So Molly McCann's the Liverpool woman. She is, well, I saw her in an interview today. I mean, they're excellent. Anyone who doesn't know them, they're two British UFC fighters, both from Liverpool. They're flying the flag and they're doing really well. They'll probably both get title shots in their careers, I imagine. But anyway, saw a good interview with Molly McCann, and she was in tears actually. She was talking about the austerity that's hitting right now and how it's just unbelievable and unacceptable, really. And she just said, I can't believe that the powers that be and the people who can control this and have an effect on this are letting this happen, because ultimately, poor people are going to die, and they are dying. The cost of living is going so high that people can't even afford to eat anymore or keep the heating on. So, I thought it was an excellent interview, and I'm glad that some people are speaking out. Like Marcus Rashford's done it in the past. I hope he starts speaking out, because it's unbearable now, really. I mean,
Yeah, it's tough.
I guess middle class, for whatever that means. But even for me, it's like, wow, that's the bills are really getting out of control now. But no, I think we need to come together, collectivize. I know the unions are kicking back in a bit, but I see that as a bit of a false flag. But I'll definitely support it while it's doing good work. Anyone who's doing good work, I'll support them to an extent. And we need to collectivize. We need to push back. They've just killed all the small businesses in COVID, especially the energy companies. I think over 10 small energy companies have closed. So now you're stuck. You're lumbered with the big providers, And also, of course, they've got everyone moved over to smart meters, or they've tried to. I won't do it, and my family won't do it. But you know, once they get you to the smart meters, they can control your
Yeah.
usage.
Well, that's what they're doing here.
Meters
Actually, they're
off,
doing big projects in Ireland.
and they want to charge you more for the peak hours. So they want to charge you more money for boiling your kettle at 7 p.m. just because other people are. So, you know, the more that we can kind of decentralize, the more that we can come together locally and, you know, as a community, that's the best. We need to collectivize and push back and just say, we're not accepting this anymore. We're mad as hell and I ain't going to take it anymore. And my face is red because the car's just parked in front of me.
Yeah, no, well, look, it's a big problem, and there's a lot of issues out there, as you said, with the inflation, cost of living. But another thing is, just in general, is that in life, in all sorts, well, 2 points. First is that if you are a politician or a president or whatever, these people live the lap of luxury. You know, most of them, it just doesn't affect them. You know, an extra 300 quid it's nothing to them. So that's 1 point. Now, these people, remember, politicians, they do actually have thick skin. They do get a lot of stick. They do get a lot of hate. And what happens is that they're trained. These people are professionals. They're trained. They understand that when you receive the hate and you receive so much of it, you become thick skinned. You become hardened. So then when you become hardened, you kind of become heartless as well. And that's what happens to a lot of these people. They do not care. The criticism literally in here, out here. They don't care. So, you know, people going whinging about them, complaining about them, they're not going to care, because these people are thick skinned, and many of them are just borderline narcissists as well. Which again is a person that literally could not care less about what you say about them, what you think about them. So that's kind of one end of the equation.
Well, I'm quite controversial in my view.
But that's what I'm saying. Anyone that is
quite
kind of
controversial
will have this type of personality trait. If you're controversial and you've received the pushback and you're still moving forward, then you are going to be a thick-skinned person. But the drawback with being very thick-skinned is that sometimes then you can be a little bit heartless, because you forget about the emotional side of things, which in a way can be a good and bad thing, you know. But from their perspective, they just don't care about struggling average people at all. And like,
yeah, I agree with you. I think they put these people of you know, these jumped up people who would have been the Nazi prison guards and prison officers into these positions of power, and they are pretty heartless. They don't really have much empathy for the common man or the common woman.
no.
But that's it. I think they are, you know, they put people in certain positions who they know they can manipulate, who they know are going to do what they say. I think it's a puppet show, personally. I think there's not really many people with true power in this world, because they're all, you know, controlled by people above them, really. But as for the, I've yet to see a politician who was truly good. And I know we're all human, we're all fallible, but you know, tell me about a politician who's really good. I know there's a couple. There's like one in.
Well, there's some
in
history that I like, but currently, well, in Ireland, like, you know, if you look at some of the in the 1916 Rising and some of the rebels that obviously gained the independence, those people were people that actually like literally died for their beliefs and for their country. So if you look at the modern generation, you know, these people wouldn't get their fingernail dirty if it really came to it. Whereas if you look at the past, the old school, like for instance, you know, Michael Collins, Padraig Pearse, all these guys, regardless of what you think about them, whether you like them or not, there were people that were willing to get literally willing to die for their cause. And it doesn't matter, you know, even if there's someone I don't agree with, anyone that's willing to die for their cause, you have to kind of respect that in a way. That's pretty ballsy. But just another thing I was going to say, like the modern guys, like, you know, you look at Bojo and any of these Irish ones or whatever. These guys won't get their fingernails dirty for their ideas, and they don't even have any ideas. That's the thing. Back in the day, they actually genuinely had a lot of principles, and they wouldn't have budged on their principles. But now, you look at these guys in the space of like a 10-year span, they go from X, Y to Z in terms of their opinions. They change their opinions like a complete yo-yo because they don't have opinions. And to be fair, look, it works. You need to say, they say what's popular at the time, and look, it gets results, but it's not morally correct to do, but it does get results. So, there's a reason why they're in charge and I'm not. But as I was saying, just another thing is that they've been in terms of the way, even in Ireland, like Ireland's in, I think, 270 billion euros debt. So they've been mismanaging the country for a long time. That's where the debts come from.
Yeah.
You have A and B. You have A is the money you take in, and B is the money you spend. And we've been spending as a country more than what we take in for the last, like, maybe 10, 15 years. Maybe the Celtic Tiger, we made a few quid, but we're in 270 billion debt. And then they're doing the money printing, which is something that no one mentions about. No one ever mentions about. Like, our governments print money, or there's European central banks and the central banks everywhere. They print money because they mismanage everything. So they just need to print more money, which is just out of thin air. But what that does is it means that inflation happens. So they're giving themselves free money, but it's actually taking it from you, because then it means money is worth less overall. If you print another billion €1 coins tomorrow morning, then a €1 coin is worth maybe 97 cent, 96 cent. It's worth less. It's not as valuable. That's why, for instance, house prices keep on going up, because money is just less valuable. Everything's on, like a cup of coffee, right, is just an example. In the 1970s, a cup of coffee is maybe 40 cent. Now it's €3, but it's the same product. It's just gone up because of inflation and because of money printing. And it kind of annoys me that they just mismanage and then they just print money, but it's just not right. It's just wrong. It's wrong. It's genuinely wrong.
It's a system, and we don't run it, and it's not for us.
No.
The monetary system in general, I mean, obviously, if you believe in the Christian religion, Jesus was against the monetary system.
Well, he was against usury, which it's in the Bible. It's
exactly.
It's quite simple, like charging high interest and stuff. Like Wonga,
well, I mean,
Wonga is literally the devil. It's satanic company. Like giving these, like Wonga. Do you want to explain to people what Wonga is?
Yeah, there's the payday loan companies such as Wonga. So you'll get in on, I don't know, I've never done it, so I'm not really au fait with it, but basically, you get a loan. You might be only a little amount, it might be 100 quid, but they'll be charging 40% on it in a month's time. So you end up paying back minimum 1,500 quid on it.
Yeah, and what they do.
But then, what you're saying, so like you say, what happens is they have this amount of money, then they do quantitative easing to print more money because they need more money in the system, which devalues the money that's already in the system. That, like you say, inflation goes on. So then the cost of your bread basket, your food basket goes up. Everything goes up. Clothes go up. Cars go up. And also, we all know real-time wages are not keeping up anywhere near with inflation. I don't think they really have in my adult lifetime.
No, not for a while.
They manipulate the figures. They keep changing the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, the Retail Price Index. They keep changing the parameters of it to change. They've just taken out airfare because airfare's gone up a lot. So they've just started taking it out of the index. So they manipulate everything. The markets are manipulated. And like what was it with Joe Biden? Like, so the definition of recession is, I think it's 2 quarters of stagnation. Of decline in the economy. And it's happened. And they said, oh, we're in a recession now. And they've said, no, we're not. They changed all the definitions on Wikipedia and everywhere. So they're literally making it up as they go along, which they always have. But now it's becoming so apparent.
Well, there's only so long. Sorry to cut you, guys.
No.
No, I was only saying that there's only so long you can mismanage, even in your own personal life. If you have a business, if you have a country, anything, there's only so long you can mismanage it for. You can bluff for a couple of years. You get away with it for a couple of years. It's fine. But eventually it comes home to roost. And you look at Greece, for example. Greece was mismanaged. And they're saying Greece was a catastrophe. No one was paying taxes. People were like, I think they were saying when Google Maps came along, they found thousands of swimming pools in people's back gardens that were never declared, no taxes paid on it, nothing, from Google Maps, from the aerial view. And it was just a shambles. And then eventually Greece collapsed, and now it's like total chaos. It's like 40% youth unemployment, etc. So, you know,
I don't think Greece has ever recovered. Greece has never recovered.
It won't. It's in trouble. Yeah. And what I'm saying is that, like, look, we don't want to go down that same road, and you know, you need to manage your house properly. And yeah, as I said, it's like continuously getting into debt, and then they say like, oh, the best way to get out of a recession is just keep on getting into more debt, and just it's like, and don't get me wrong, I'm actually, in principle, I don't have a problem with debt. Like, businesses do need sometimes to get in debt, but it's just has to be managed correctly. Like in Ireland, for instance, they build a national children's hospital. It's in the construction phase now, and they've gone over $1 billion over budget on it, more, and it could end up going 1 billion, 1.2, 1.3. No one knows. It's over $1 billion over budget probably now as stands. It's going to go more. It's a complete national scandal, and not one person, I think, has lost their job over it. But like, this type of stuff is just scandalous when this type of stuff happens. $1 billion over budget on a construction project. Like, I don't know who's running the show here, but like, this is a complete joke. And you know, it's funny because, as I said, you have these people that are talking about they want the government always to provide solutions. Like, the government can't do anything. The government messes up everything it puts its hands on. The main reason why the Western world has become, you know, one of the best places in the world is because of the economic system, whereby the government was saying that we'll let people set up businesses and take care of whatever services need to be provided, rather than us doing it. For instance, if you're in a communist country, you don't have private enterprise, which means that, for instance, if you want to get a painter to come to your house, there's only one painting company in the country owned by the government. And if that company sucks, tough crap, because there's no one else, and the government will keep on subsidizing a failing business. That's communism. And we didn't do that. But now we're kind of starting to do it again, where we're just giving bailouts to big companies all the time when they're failing. If a company's failing, well, yeah, you have to let it collapse. You don't keep on pumping money unless you have to. Rare circumstances. In general, you shouldn't, though. You should let it fail.
Well, we can move away from finance soon, but yeah, I think for me, this system of the debt-based system, really, there's always a loser. They've based it on an ever-growing model. Now we live in a place now where wages have reached a certain point. Well, they have since the 80s, maybe, where, you know, it's a lot cheaper to go and get things done elsewhere. So therefore, our economy has shrunk in many, many ways. Yes, they might have kept the top financial things going, and the big businesses such as Coca-Cola and everything like that, they've all kept going. But, you know, steel industries have closed, mining industries have closed, lots and lots of things. So we're not a manufacturer, we're not a producing country in the West. And so they were building this model on finite growth, and it's not possible. I mean, it's well known that there's many, many flaws in this system. This system is over 200 years old, this monetary system that we're using now. I know the federal banking system came in the 1910s, but that's our more modern form of banking, which, don't get me started on that, because moving away from the gold standard was another big problem that we're facing, because there's no real asset to link money to. So they can just print and print and print with no means. It doesn't matter. And now we're seeing.
I think the government in Zimbabwe did the same. I think government started printing money like crazy. Like, you think what we're doing is bad. Oh boy, their government was just like, right, we are going to, and it got to the stage where it was like complete starvation, like where it was like 10 million whatever Zimbabwean money for like a loaf of bread, and like no one could afford anything, infinite inflation.
Yeah.
But that's the problem.
hyperinflation.
But that's
We're heading towards that.
but
We're
like
heading
the
towards
governments
hyperinflation.
need to start cutting down on their spending. And people are saying they want the government to spend more, which means they're going to print more money. They're going to run the show into the ground if they keep on doing that. They need to start being
Well, Henry,
economically sensible. It's not only just governments, it's a lot of people in their lives. You know, there's people out there on average wages, and then they're getting these finance loans to get brand new BMWs. I'm not just criticizing the government, I'm criticizing people as well. People got to live within their
no, well,
means.
Henry,
Everyone, not just the government, the general society.
well, Henry, I agree with you largely, but I would say on the whole thing, really, just to summarize, and we'll move on to another topic. I'll ask you another question, but yeah, for me, and you might have a different opinion on this, and I'm sure a lot of the audience might, but for me, at this point, where we are now, after coronavirus, where in the last 3 years we've printed more money than in the history. So in the last 3 years, there's more money in circulation than in the entirety of history been printed. For me, it's deliberate at this stage. They are running the train off the tracks, and I can't tell you all the answers. I don't know exactly why, but it would seem they might want to move towards a digital currency and maybe scrap the current forms of currency that we have. So we might head towards those kind of things in the future. But certainly, looking at what's going on in the world, looking at the financial stuff that's going on, it is senseless, and we all can see that we're heading to a nasty point, really. And I just hope the people don't accept it. I hope we've pushed back and did what the Icelandics did in the 2008 crisis. They refused to bail the bank. Yes, they had to go to courts. Yes, they had a long haul, and they did suffer hyperinflation when we didn't really, to a large extent. They did have a little suffer. They suffered for a couple of years, harder than we did, perhaps. But look what happened. They had a good community. They all rallied round. They all made it through, and now they're stronger for it. And they didn't pay the banks back.
No, but
So
the banks.
we need to take it into our own hands, like you're saying. We need to take responsibility. We can't just let this go on perpetually.
No, well, it's the
And
same
then
what
we'll
happened in
move on
Ireland
after that.
and what happens like, you know, the big companies mess up, and to be fair, some of that was the government's fault as well. But they get free handouts, but then they don't want to bail out average people when the energy prices are going through the roof. So, you know, big banks can get bailouts, but average people can't. You know, I don't like the sound of that. But as you said, anyway, look, it is what it is. It's just one of those things, and it's just interesting because, for me, you know, when you see the debates and they have these leadership elections and all this crap, you know, I just get bored. But like, they're talking about meaningless stuff. No one ever talks about modern banking systems, modern monetary theory, quantitative easing. Like no one ever. This isn't even like. This isn't even. They're talking about like whether they're going to maybe raise social welfare by like €5 a week or something. This is what all the debate's about. It's not about the real issues. It's not about the proper big issues that are going to have an impact on your ability to afford a house. If they keep on printing money and house prices go up 20% directly as a result of them, people don't get a house. You will never own a house in your life because of this action. And it's not even debated on. It's not on the ballot box.
No.
And it's just totally, as I said, it's just debating about whether we're going to like increase tax VAT on imports by like 0.2%, like totally stuff that like I'm bored. I'm even bored thinking about it. Honestly, I prefer to paint my wall.
That's part of the
I'm gonna paint my wall. I'm so bored. I'm even bored thinking about it.
That's part of the aim, Henry. And I was just thinking about the media today, actually. I was thinking about the news, and I thought anyone who uses the news for their source of information and source of updates, yeah, you might find out what's going on generally, but you're not finding any real information. Like you say, what do they tell you about? They tell you, well, there's a continual conveyor belt of events that happen that they'll push in front of you. Boris Johnson's done this, the Queen's done this, la-di-da-di-da, and there's that continual conveyor belt, and there's the war in here and the war in there, and they'll keep you lapping all that up. Shock factor, fear factor, keep you in a constant state of unease and unnerving. I never watch the news and come away happy, never.
I was going to say,
and I know they do little stories.
The stream is
But,
just finishing up
no.
now, so we can start the next
All
part
right.
if you want.
Well, we could do a quick 10 minutes on the news. How long have we got here? Like 1 minute.
Yeah, literally like 20 seconds. So
Okay, well,
we can just
I'll
take
pick up
this.
on the. Yeah, cool. Well, we'll pick up on the news on the next one. But yeah, if you're watching the news for your source of information, come on, you've got to be finding other ways.
Wise words, wise words. Right. Right, folks. We'll see you on the other side. I'm gonna stop this record. Or wait a second. I want to let it run. I'm gonna let it